everyone, my name's Dr. Amna Husain, board certified pediatrician, board certified lactation consultant, and mom. Today we're going to be talking about things to consider before beginning sleep training. If you haven't watched it already, I'm going to link it right here, but I have a part 1 to this video, and we go over really important things if you're on the fence about sleep training. Now, let's say you're inching your way there. Today we're going to be talking about more actionable items that you can actually do. The last video focused a lot on thought processes, which again is very important when it comes to considering sleep training for your child, because it may not be a one method fits all, and you might have to experiment with a few different methods. So getting yourself in the right mindset is really helpful, especially because I really don't think sleep training is a huge big deal. In fact, I don't even really like considering it sleep training. These are just important things that you have to really teach your baby along the way. Nobody really knows how to go to sleep. Think about it. When we go to sleep, we might wake up in the middle of the night, fluff our pillow, readjust ourselves, go from sleeping on our right side to our left side, and then close our eyes and drift off to sleep. We take it for granted, but this is actually things that you have to really attribute and apply to your little infant. They wake up in the middle of the night, but they can't really get themselves back to sleep, right? We have to help them there. So this is something that's very important. I think it's kind of teaching your child to sleep rather than sleep training per se. All right, now that rant over, there's going to be tons of sleep content coming your way. So if you're interested, make sure you hit subscribe below. We're going to be reviewing lots of important questions. When it comes to sleep training or setting yourself up for sleep training, I think it's very important to institute some incredibly helpful things. One of those being white noise. So any website, blog, parenting book that you go to recommends white noise, but what does that even mean and why is it helpful? White noise provides some kind of background noise to your infant. You have to remember that in the womb, it wasn't quiet. They could still hear sounds, and the nursery should not be pin drop silent. You're really kind of just setting yourself up for problems, especially if you have a toddler or an older child. You cannot make sure that they're quiet 100% of the time. In fact, I really realized this when I had my first to moving to my second. When it was my first and I was on mat leave, the house was quiet when my little one went to sleep. She still had a white noise machine, but that was it. Now my second one, I have that white noise machine on, but still my toddler can be screaming right there in the room while I'm trying to put her to sleep. That's why it's so helpful. So speaking of what sound is really helpful, well, evidence seems to show that somewhere between 60 to 75 decibels is actually the most useful sound range. And when it comes to the sound, I like a boring background noise. I've also used things like the baby shusher. I use them for both kids, but I also use a sort of boring background noise like vacuum, blow dryers, something that really just serves as background noise. There's also timer functions. I know some families who use a lullaby, other families that use nature sounds. Whatever you pick, I try to experiment, roll with one, and then just use it. Now, there is a risk of your child getting addicted to this white noise machine, that they always need it to go to sleep. I actually see that right now in my 8-week-old, that once I put her down in her crib, her white noise machine is on. She kind of just like settles into this relaxed phase that she knows that she's supposed to go to sleep. So let's say you're traveling and you don't have this white noise machine. Are you going to freak out? You don't have to. There's tons of apps out there, first of all. So millennial parent to another parent, there's lots of apps out there that you can absolutely substitute for a white noise machine if you're traveling. But the second point is, obviously, your child's going to eventually learn to go to sleep in a normal environment where this white noise machine may not be blasting. And if that's the case, you can absolutely wean this machine down. So you could either put it on a timer function or slowly move it to a different corner of the room further and further away so that it's fading in sound. Or you can actually, if it has a sound function, just lower the volume so that it's not really that prevalent in your child's sleep cycles. All right, my second tip is try to stop nursing or feeding to sleep. Now this is super important, especially as your child gets older. I'll make it really clear that in the beginning, in the first initial newborn period, when your child's a very young infant, that's pretty much all they do. They eat and then they're asleep. They eat and then they're asleep. They may have like 5 minutes of being awake. But as your child gets older, their wake windows will become longer. So try as much as you can to not necessarily feed them to sleep, because that's really not the way they're going to grow and thrive and put themselves to sleep when they get older. So as much as you can, try to limit that association as your child starts to grow older and they get closer and closer to appropriate age to begin sleep training. It's really important to break that association. And the best time to really start trying to do this is the daytime. At nighttime, I would keep whatever's simplest for you, especially because we all are lacking in sleep. So just do whatever you're doing. If you want to feed them and they're falling asleep during the feeding, just go ahead, put them down, and you get back into bed soon too. As your child gets older, we're talking around the 4 to 6 month age, this is something I definitely would try to move away from as well, because we want to really break the feeding and sleep association the best that we can. Why is that important? Well, it gets me to tip number 3 that I recommend before beginning sleep training, and that is trying to teach self-soothing. There's a lot of taboo thrown around the term self-soothing, that a baby can't soothe, and instead people like to use self-settle. Whatever term you like to use. Basically, try to get your baby used to being able to somewhat soothe, settle their emotions without you 100% of the time. That's really important. This is a key to building resilience in children. Think about it. As your toddler gets older and they get frustrated building Legos or blocks, are you going to run in there and help them each time? Or if they're learning how to walk and they fall down, are you going to tell them to give up and rush to rescue them? Of course, you're going to encourage them to keep trying. So try to encourage your child going to sleep on their own. And that doesn't necessarily mean closing the door and letting them cry it out. That's not what this is about right now when I'm saying teaching self-soothing. It's trying to get them into their place of sleep, whether that be the bassinet or the crib, by themselves, drowsy but awake. So they should be showing signs of sleepiness, but not completely asleep yet. Talk a lot with my hands, I've realized. So if you found this helpful, but you're still a little confused, you can actually enter to win a free sleep consultation with me. One of the items that we've talked about very heavily in the sleep series is having a good routine. And a good routine starts with a good sleep book. If you click the link below in the show notes, you can actually buy my sleep book that I've written for my children, It's Time to Say Goodnight, incorporate it into your child's sleep routine. If you DM me a picture of the receipt on Instagram, you will be entered to win a free sleep consultation with me. Alright guys, if this video was helpful, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any updates on new sleep training and sleep education videos for children. See you next week. Bye.